one more thing, Your Honor, I would like to say if Ms. Amatita does, because these are emotional topics, if she does feel the need to take some breaks, I would be completely fine with that, so she could gather herself and her thoughts and figure out what she's doing, and that's fine, perfectly fine with me.
Yes, if anybody needs a break, including, I'm going to add, I think I have Cheryl Cutter in the courtroom today, so including the clerk, if you need a break, just any of you, let me know. Okay, so Ms. Holder, any opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor. So this is a trial over a petition for a parenting plan that Mr. And you'll have to forgive me if my emails pop up occasionally. If Mr. Miller had proposed a parenting plan. The plan was proposed as a result of a domestic violence protective order that was filed against Ms. Amatita's fiance, if I'm not mistaken. And there was some allegations of physical abuse against his son, Michael Miller III, who we were going to refer to as Bubba. There was some domestic violence issues brought up in the home. And so Mr. Miller decided that it was best for his son to remove him from that situation, file a protective order against the alleged abuser, Mr. Chaddock, and then go ahead and file a petition for a parenting plan to get custody in place. And so that is what we are in trial today for. As I go through, I've got Mr. Miller is going to testify as a witness, as well as his mother, Janine, and his father, Michael Miller Sr. And they are going to testify to his interactions with Bubba, how Bubba has improved since he's left his mother's custody. And what we are asking is that the petition for the parenting plan stay as it is. And currently Ms. Amatita has authorized by the court for supervised visitations. And so we would stay with that, and we would stay with full custody for Mr. Miller. At this point in the parenting plan, we have not asked for child support, but if the court deems it necessary for him to have full support, we would amend and modify the petition to then go seek full child support.
And so the proposed parenting plan from December 8th is what we should be working off.
Yes, Your Honor. And I've also included it as exhibit number 7.
Perfect. Thank you.
Along with all the filings, minus, I believe, the certificates of service and things like that are not included.
Okay. All right. And just as a clarification, the protection order was entered in December. And so Bubba's been with Mr. Miller since that was entered.
He has been with Mr. Miller since about mid-October, maybe even the beginning of October.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, Ms. Amatita, any opening statements that you would like to make? You can also wait and do your opening statements after they've presented all their testimony.
Yeah, I'll kind of do it like an opening statement. So I got all this like dropped on me. I had a baby September 30th, and I asked Michael to help with taking Bubba because I couldn't drive for 2 weeks. So I had him try to take him to school while I was on maternity leave and recovering from a C-section. And then I got dropped with all this court stuff and accusations and all this stuff. So I've been going through with CPS and the police nonstop and dealing with them and working with them to try to get my son back. And then I get the protection order on me. We were waiting for the CPS reports because in Mike's protection order, Commissioner Nelson put that we could submit CPS report when it was done to get the protection order dropped. So we were working on that, and it took forever for us to get the paperwork back. And then I did respond to Michael's parenting plan because I wanted 50-50 because I believe it should be 50-50, not just one-sided with him, because I kind of find that unfair. As the mother, I want to see my child, and I think we both should have 50-50. So I've been working on contacting CPS to have them help. And then I have been like calling my son every so often when Michael lets me to talk to him. And then my calls are like maybe a minute or two because he's a young child and gets occupied with other things. But I just want to see my son and talk to him more.
I'm just going to ask a clarifying question, if you don't mind. Is the CPS case finished, or is it still?
All of it's finished. We got all of our paperwork and we have all the documents from them now. I just couldn't submit them because we got them yesterday.
Okay. All right. And you indicated, so your only witness now would be Mr. Chaddock.
Yes, because
Okay.
Nicole because of their divorce, it would be a conflict of interest with Michael and his attorney with her divorce proceedings.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, Ms. Holder, your first witness.
My first witness is going to be Michael Miller. How long have you lived in that home?
Roughly about 3 years.
And how old are you?
I'm 28.
And what job do you have?
I work at Foster Farms as a truck driver.
Okay, and what kind of job responsibilities do you have?
Mainly just backing in trailers to load food products.
How many hours a week do you work?
About 40.
And what is your schedule like?
I work a swing shift / graveyard shift. So I work from like 5:30 to about 4 in the morning.
And that's 5:30 in the evening?
Yes.
Okay. And how many children do you have?
I have to.
And how old are your children? What are their names?
Michael and Olivia.
Okay. And Michael is the child at issue here.
Yes.
And he goes by Bubba.
Yeah.
Or Buddy. Okay. And who are the mothers of these children?
Angel and Nicole Miller.
And Angel is mother of which child?
Michael.
And Olivia's mother is who? Okay. Now, who all lives
I'm
in the
gonna pause you for a second. Madam Clerk, can you verify that we're picking up Mr. Miller on the record? Because I feel like some of it is cutting out.
If you could talk a little louder, that would be great.
Okay.
You think?
I can also move my computer a little bit closer to pick up.
All right, it's almost like it's a dead spot. I see his mouth moving, but I don't hear anything. And then the next thing I do hear. So. All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You can see me here, so I'm in the corner.
All right.
Okay. So who all lives in the home with you?
My son, my daughter, and me. And then when I go to work, my mom is staying with me to watch the kids.
And how many days a week does she stay there in the house?
4.
Are any of the children in school currently?
My son is.
And
He's in kindergarten. We'll be moving into 1st grade next year.
how often do you see your children?
Usually when I get home from work, I stay up in the morning, I spend time with them. And then on my days off, I get Sunday through Tuesday off. So I usually make plans, spend time with them.
All right. And Olivia, how often do you get to see her?
I see her every other week because me and Nicole have 50-50 on custody for now.
And you're currently going through a divorce with Nicole right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And custody is an issue in that case.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that's the biggest issue in that case?
I would say pertaining to Olivia is my main concern.
So prior to October of last year, October 22, Bubba only stayed with you, or when did Bubba stay with you?
It was usually every weekend. I usually had any of the days off I had. Most of my work schedules were Friday through Sunday off, so I would pick him up Friday right when I woke up, and then I would drop him off Monday on my way to work.
And why did you take custody of Bubba in fall of 22?
Due to my son coming to me and multiple family members, as well as my ex-wife, and talking to us about domestic violence that was happening in the home.
So what kind of things was your son?
He was saying things like when he's over there, that Mike is mean to him.
When he's over where?
Over at his mom's house, that Mike is mean to him, and Mike smacks him in the back of the head and hits him in the face.
Okay. Does he say anything else about any domestic violence accusations?
He has told me about stories of his mom and Chaddock fighting and witnessing that in detail, about his mom smacking Mike and him spitting on her.
Him being who?
Chaddock spitting on him.
Okay. Have you ever seen any indications of physical abuse on your son?
I have his arm. When he had came over one day, Nicole was giving him a bath at our house. And when she was giving him a bath, she had noticed marks on his arm, bruising. And they were handprint marks. And when she asked my son about where it came from, he had stated that Mike Chaddock had hurt him.
I'm going to show the witness a picture. Is this the picture of your son's arm?
Yes.
Okay. And who took this picture?
Nicole.
Okay. And how did you end up with the picture?
With me, when I was filing the protection order against Chaddock.
Okay. And were you there when Nicole discovered the photos on your son, or discovered the marks on your son?
Yes, I was. She told me.
Okay. And how did you react?
I had called Angel and informed her about it, and told her that this wasn't okay, and that if I'd seen this again, you know, I was going to take action such as taking my son. And she didn't know what to do. I figured she would do something about it. And immediately after hanging up on the phone call with her, Chaddock had called me in a panic, trying to apologize for it, trying to say it was an accident on my son's arm, the bruising.
So did my child admit to that he was the one?
Yes.
All right. Did you know if anyone else saw those marks? Go ahead, Your Honor.
Did you ask for admitting that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I would ask at this time that we admit my proposed Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Okay. And Ms. Amaskita, that's the photo that was provided in that.
Yes, I know when that photo was taken. It was taken about 2 years ago.
So are you objecting to that photo? Or, well, I guess you can. I'll admit the
Not
photo.
relevant to anything recent.
I'll admit the photo, and then you can provide any testimony that you want regarding that photo.
Mr. Miller, when was that picture taken?
Like she said, it was roughly about 2 years ago.
So it was taken in 2021,
Yes.
but you didn't take custody of your son until 2022.
I figured talking to Angel, she would have done something to protect my son.
So were there more allegations after this one from 2021?
That's when my son came to me telling me about what was going on over there with the domestic violence and Mike hitting him and smacking him, and the domestic violence between her and Chaddock.
So when did your son come to you with more allegations of domestic violence?
It's roughly around the time that about September-ish, he had started talking to me.
And that was September of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Was that also the time that Ms. Amaskita had her child? Okay. So am I correct in that your son, Bubba, told you about more domestic violence allegations when he came to stay with you when she had her baby?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you saw there were more accusations of domestic violence that your son was saying Michael Chaddock was committing against him and his mother, how did you react?
I tried to talk to her again to see why he was saying these things and, you know, what was going on, because this was uncommon. He never talked like this. And then I eventually she wasn't wanting to explain herself or what was going on over there. So I took custody of my son because I figured it was an unsafe environment for him.
When you say that she wasn't willing to talk about it or explain herself, what do you mean?
I tried to talk to her on multiple occasions about it, and they had just told me that he was lying to me, that he was just a kid. He didn't know what he was saying.
Did Ms. Amaskita ever see the marks on your son?
Yes, she did.
And who else did anybody else see the marks on your son?
I've shown my family pictures of the marks, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, Nicole.
And do you know if Bubba ever went to any of those people and told them about the alleged domestic violence?
He went to Nicole, one of the first people. He then further told my grandparents. He had talked to me about it right after Nicole, and he had told my mom, my dad, pretty much everybody in my family has heard about it.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You said that Bubba is in school.
Yeah.
And what grade is he in again?
He's in kindergarten.
Okay. And do you know how he's doing in school now?
Now, from what his teachers have told me, he has made huge improvements. He is able to read, he's able to write, he's able to do math, spell. He's completely turned around.
Okay. When you say turned around from what?
From how he was when he had first started school at Wallace, when he was staying with his mother. He was acting out, such as hitting other kids, kicking them, spitting on them, and running away from his teachers.
Now, I want to show you what I've previously marked as Exhibit 2, and this is his attendance record and his school record from Lexington and Wallace. Now, remind me again when you took custody or you got custody of Bubba. It was around October of 2022.
Yes, so it was around beginning to mid-October.
Okay. Now these records for Bubba, how have you ever seen them before?
Yes.
And
Ms. Holder, you're cutting out when you get too far off.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Mr. Miller, have you seen these records before, these school records?
I think in a couple weeks. Okay. At them.
Okay. And these records are both from Wallace Elementary and from Lexington Elementary.
Yes.
Okay. And as far as you know, this is a full accounting of the school record.
Yes.
And how do you know it is?
Because I went to the school, I asked for both schools for complete absences, days missed, all that.
Okay. And are you aware that Ms. Amaskita also proposed her own exhibit with the school schedule?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is yours any different from hers?
Mine has the full entire year versus just a cutout.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to admit into evidence what's been previously marked as proposed exhibit number 2 with the school records from Wallace and Lexington Elementary.
All right. And just to confirm, Ms. Amaskita, you have those as part of what you received?
Yeah, I just looked through and found them. I haven't had a chance to look at them.
Okay.
Because I know like on here it shows like some of the attendance.
You'll note that.
And I know when
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I know when he was in school not being behave, I would go and sit with him in school and help him with a counselor. And we tried working out a plan for his behavior because he wouldn't sit still long enough to like try to do work. So I'd have to come and pick him up early because of that.
Ms. Amaskita, does these pages, so exhibit 2 is marked pages 1 through 10. Does this look like his school attendance record to you?
Yeah, it shows. Yeah, it shows that.
Okay.
I just don't have access to the Lexington Elementary School stuff because I didn't know he changed schools.
Okay, I'm going to admit number 2.
All right. Now, I do want to call attention to exhibit 2, specifically to the date. And I believe it is page, make sure I have my pages right here. Page 7 of exhibit 2. You will see that in September through October of 2022. Are you familiar with this, Mr. Miller, with the dates that your son was out of school?
Yes, I am.
Do you know what was going on there?
He was having behavioral issues, like I said, kicking. Part of his problem was he couldn't focus. The other part was he was having episodes of hitting, kicking, spitting. But we had gotten his behavior kind of on track whenever I took him to the doctor to get him on his ADHD medication.
And were you aware that he had out of school suspensions?
Yes.
Do you know off the top of your head about how many he had?
About 4.
And do you know why he got out of school suspensions?
That was due to he was showing violent behavior.
I want to call your attention, Mr. Miller, to October 18th down through November. And you will notice that there are a lot of unexcused absences. And that was when your son was in custody with you, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain what those unexcused absences are?
I had talked to the school. It was more of a miscommunication between the school on marking it down. I had already talked to them and they planned on fixing it. I had told the school that until I was able to get him on some sort of medication to get him under control with his ADHD, that it wouldn't do him any good to go to school and get sent home after an hour due to the behavior he was showing. So I had taken him out of school and taken him to the doctor, got him on medication. Part of that was I had to watch him for a week to make sure that the medication had no side effects to it, to where he wasn't too drowsy or zombified from the medication. So I had to just really keep an eye on him before I sent him back to school.
That brings me to what has been previously marked as exhibit number 3. Do you recognize this letter, Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Okay, and what is this?
That is a letter from the Kelsall School District about those dates, stating that it was due to medical reasons that he was out.
Okay. And when you went and talked to the school, did you go and talk to the school?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I would now put into evidence what's been previously marked as exhibit number 3, which is a letter from the Kelsall School District.
And Ms. Amaskita, I just want to confirm that you have that letter. It looks like it's from a Dina McGee.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll admit number 4.
I believe that was number 3, Your Honor.
Sorry, 3.
Okay. Now I want to go back to exhibit 2. And since you have had custody of your son, he is now at which school?
Lexington Elementary School.
Okay, and that would be starting on page 1 of exhibit 2?
Yes.
Okay. Now I do notice that there are several instances, for example, on November 9th, 2022 and January 18th of 2023, that he either was sent home early or that he missed school for discipline reasons. Can you explain what was going on there?
I have been working with the school, the counselors, basically trying to do everything I can for him because they said he's showing signs of fight or flight responses at school, like he just can't control himself, and he kind of has like moments of like, I guess an example would be fireworks going off, he kind of panics and goes into these episodes. And so I had taken it upon myself to get him into therapy because in my belief, it kind of just has to do with what he was going through.
Now, when you say a flight or fight response, what does that look like when your son does that?
For him, it's more of running off, not listening, like he zones out, and he may show violent behavior. So like such as like ripping things apart or taking off running from his teachers, not listening.
Okay. And since he has been medicated, does he still do that?
Every so often, but it's not near as what it was.
Okay. So just so I'm understanding, his behavior before his medication was worse than it is now, but he still displays some discipline issues.
He couldn't even attend school. It was that bad.
So if he couldn't attend school, was he going to school?
He would go there for about an hour, and then me or Angel would get a phone call to come pick him up because of his behavior.
And how often was that happening?
Honestly, it's about almost every day.
Every day. Now, you mentioned that he is still having some issues.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to bring your attention to what I previously marked as Exhibit 4. Mr. Miller, do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay, what is this?
That is a threat assessment from his school.
Okay, and when you read the date on that for me?
5/8/2023.
So this is still pretty recent.
Yes.
Okay. And this states that Michael has recently shown escalated behavior in school, initiating this threat assessment.
Yes.
Okay. And the concerning behavior includes writing the word gun and killer repeatedly and targeting another student in class. Did you ever have a conversation with the school about this issue?
Yeah, I actually attended the meeting and went over the threat assessment in a meeting.
And what was that meeting like?
We had talked about a lot of his issues and a lot of his problems and how we could get to a point where he was better and where he wasn't talking about this kind of thing or showing that, because it seemed like to the school he was showing a lot of anger or resentment towards something.
Okay. And how did you get this letter?
The school gave me a copy.
Okay. I would move at this time to admit what's been previously marked as Exhibit 4 into evidence.
You have that, Miss Mosquito?
Yeah, I do. I'm just confused because like I never got one from the school either, or a call from the school.
Well, I don't have an answer to why that could possibly be, but given the type of record it is, I'll admit number 4.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, at this, that threat record was from May of this year, so pretty recent. Have there been other issues with the school where you've gotten called in? Okay. Have there been any issues like where he made any kind of drawings or he said anything specifically to teachers that raised attention?
Yeah, so there was an incident where he was drawing on the whiteboard and drawing different, like kids do, like I think it was some transformer things, and he had drawn them. And when asked about what it was, because his teacher said it seemed like a pretty violent picture, and his teacher had asked him about what the drawing was, and he said that he was the good guy with a good transformer, and he was fighting somebody that he had portrayed as Evil Mike.
Evil Mike. Now, your name is Mike. Does he call you Mike? Does your son call you Mike?
No.
Okay. So from your understanding in having this conversation with the school, who do you think Killer Mike is?
I would believe it would be Mike Chaddick. That is the only person he calls Mike.
Okay. And you got called to school to talk to the teachers about that incident specifically?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you're trying to put your son or have put your son in therapy. Yes. And he is now under medication, which would be for ADHD. Yes. Do you know specifically what type of medication that is? It's like Adderall or Vyvanse?
believe not Adderall is the other one from, I think it's Ritalin, I believe.
Okay. And do you by any chance know who prescribed that for him?
I don't know your name.
I show you what's been previously marked as exhibit number 5, and these are documents from Columbia Wellness. Okay. Did you take him to the doctor at Columbia Wellness?
I had to work that day, so my grandmother would take me. I did go to his first assessment
Okay.
to be there with him.
So because of your work schedule, you had another family member take him to the doctor that day.
Yes,
All right. And what family member was that?
that was my grandmother.
So that was your grandmother
Yes.
and Bubba's great grandmother.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know by any chance how that doctor's visit went?
Yeah. As far as I know, because I talked to his therapist and she said that it seemed to her that he had some sort of post-traumatic stress disorder from some sort of domestic violence. And in her belief, it was domestic violence in the household at his mom's.
Right. So I just want to be clear, who scheduled this doctor's visit for him?
That was it.
So you scheduled this doctor's visit?
Yes.
And even though you couldn't attend, you had your grandmother take him. All right. I would move to admit the exhibit, which has been previously marked as exhibit number 5 into evidence. Do you know at this doctor's visit what his primary diagnosis was?
The only thing they could come up with, because he's only had 2 visits, but in their belief, it was just PTSD.
Okay.
Is why he reacts the way he does.
Okay. So PTSD would, what's listed on exhibit number 5, page 10, is that his Bubba's primary diagnosis has been adjustment disorder with mixed disturbance of emotions and conduct, with a secondary diagnosis of unspecified attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Does that sound about right to you? Now, at this doctor's visit, do you know if your son was directly, talked to the doctor and what he said?
I didn't attend the second one. The first one was an initiation for me to go over a discussion with his therapist about what's going on with him. So I don't know exactly what he said.
Okay. I would direct the court's attention to page 5 of exhibit 5. And I'm assuming that client would be what we're now calling patients, and patient would be your son.
Yeah.
Does your son ever smack his head does he ever smack his head on the forehead when he gets frustrated?
Yeah, he does.
Does he say things like, why does my brain make me do these things?
Yeah, he does.
What does he do with his fingers?
Fingers?
Yeah.
Oh, he chews on them a lot.
Chews on them? Does he pick at them?
Yeah.
Okay. Has your son ever made comments to you like, I'm going to die? Okay. In exhibit 5, page 5, your grandmother had reported to the doctor that after spending a day with his mother, he said, I'm going to die, and said that mother's boyfriend, Mike Chaddock, told him. Do you know if Mike Chaddock says things to your son that upset your son?
He has said that if he goes back over there, yeah, that's what he feels is going to happen.
Now, have you, speaking of medical and area people, have you ever talked to CPS about your son?
Yes.
Okay, and when did you do that? Do you remember?
It was a short time period after taking my son.
So after getting custody of your son,
Yes.
you have had interactions with CPS.
Yes, I went there. They interviewed my son as well. And they had told me after the interview with my son that it would be in best interest that he stays with me.
I'm going to show you it's been marked as exhibit 13. Going to the back of the packet on this one. Did you ever talk to a social worker? Okay, and did the social worker come to your door and you answered?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have had contact with CPS and they have talked to you about your son.
Yes.
Do you know if anyone else in your family has talked to CPS?
My grandfather did. I think he actually helped me make the call
Okay.
to CPS.
Do you remember what you talked to CPS about?
It was about domestic violence over there and about the things my son was saying towards Chaddock.
All right. Is that the first interaction you've had with CPS?
Yeah, I've never had to deal with CPS.
Okay. At this time, I would move to enter what's been previously marked as exhibit 13 into evidence.
Am I allowed to see this? Because my reports have everything blocked out. Because of the law. Okay. I'm just making sure because mine are blocked out.
Are you referring to like who they talked to and that kind of information, or the actual
Yeah, because like on ours, the narrative is all blocked out and it won't tell me like who did the report.
Okay.
But on like how it says on the very end of page 71, it's blocked out, I think, her age. I just want to make sure I'm not like going to get in trouble for like knowing all this stuff.
It's been offered as an exhibit and I'm going to admit the exhibit. So no, I mean,
Okay, I'm just making sure.
all right. So 13 will be admitted.
Okay, thank you, Ron. I want to talk about Bubba's home life. Okay, so does he have his own room?
Yes.
Okay, and does he share it with anybody?
No, not at the moment.
So he has his own room.
Yes.
Does he have a bedtime?
Yes, 9 o'clock on school nights. I let him stay maybe till 9:30 on the weekends.
Okay, now you're not home every night during the week because of your job, correct?
No.
So who makes sure he gets to bed?
My mom.
And your mom is the one that lives in the house with you 4 days a week.
Yes.
All right. So she gets him to bed. Who makes him dinner?
That'd be me or my mom, whoever's home.
Okay. So if you're home and you're not working, you make him dinner.
Yes.
And if you are not home because you're working, your mom makes him dinner.
Yes.
Okay. Now he does get medication. Who makes sure he takes his medication?
Depending on the day, usually my day is following some of the school days. So first thing in the morning, it's either me or my mother.
And does he get his medication every single day?
Yes.
All right. Was he taking any kind of medication when his mother had custody? You mentioned that you had talked to her about getting him on medication.
Yes.
Did she agree with you that he needed to be on medication?
No.
Okay. What were those conversations like?
I brought it up before, and the response I got from her was that her and Chaddick did not agree with him being on any sort of medication because they didn't want him, drugged up, is what they said.
So from your understanding, neither Angel, Miss Amaskita, neither Mike nor Mike Chaddick wanted to put your son on medication.
No.
Okay. So now I want to switch gears and I want to talk about your relationship with Miss Amaskita. Okay. When did you meet her?
I met her in high school.
When did you start dating her?
I believe it was my junior year.
So you were 16, 17?
Yeah, I was about 16.
Okay. And how long did you date her?
I dated her for, I want to say, roughly 6 years.
And when, how far into the 6 years before Bubba was born?
I think it was there towards the end, back in.
It was the beginning of the last year we were dating.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Amaskita. And Angel lived with you and your family, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me what brought about that situation?
We had unfair living conditions for her mom. And at the time, I wanted to help her. I wanted to make sure that she grew up in a stable home where she got everything she needed. And so I talked to my parents and they agreed to move her in and take care of her.
And how long did Miss Amaskita live with you and your family?
Since the time we started dating, so about, she lived in my dad's house for roughly about 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. And how old was Bubba when you and Miss Amaskita broke up? And during that 6 years, what was your relationship with her like?
We didn't really have too many issues. I mean, normal relationship, we had disagreements, we had arguments. I know there were times where she had cheated on me, kind of there. And that was kind of the spark at the end of our relationship when I found out that is I tried to make it work, but the feelings just weren't there.
All right. And was there any domestic violence in your relationship with Miss Amaskita?
No.
Why did your relationship with her end?
I had feelings for my best friend at the time.
Okay. And who was your best friend? And is that your now estranged wife? Do you know what Miss Amaskita's and Nicole Miller's relationship was like prior to you dating Miss Amaskita?
Times before we got to meet, Angel had gotten together, but Angel knew that me and Nicole had a connection. So she had a lot of jealousy issues when it came to that relationship I had with Nicole. And basically, she didn't really want to be friends with Nicole. She didn't like her, and then.
So they stopped being friends because of you?
Yes.
Were you able to maintain a friendship with Miss Miller while you were with Miss Amaskita? Okay. Did you maintain a relationship with her the entire time you were with Miss Amosquita? Okay. You were friends with Miss Miller, and you said that she's your best friend.
Yes.
Was there ever a time when you were not friends with Miss Miller?
Yeah, Angel had discovered that in high school we were writing love letters to each other back and forth. And the letters at the time meant a lot to me, so I kept them in a drawer. And one of the days, Angel had discovered all those letters, and it led to an argument. And she had told me that I was not allowed to talk to Nicole anymore. So for about a year, we didn't speak at all.
But eventually you started talking to Nicole again.
Yeah.
Okay. And you ended your relationship with Miss Amosquita to be with Miss Miller.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And when the relationship with Miss Amosquita ended, who broke up with who?
I broke up with her because I had feelings for my best friend.
Okay. And how did Miss Amosquita take the breakup?
She did not take it well. She had, when I had told her that I had been with her best friend, well, not her best friend, my best friend, sorry. When I told her about wanting to be with Nicole, she kind of lost it. She had took off running up the road, and she was crying and trying to cut herself on a stop sign and slamming her head into the road in the ditch. And I actually was trying to help her, and I had to pick her up out of the ditch to stop her from hurting herself.
You know, if did anybody call the police?
As far as I know, I did. I thought she was hurting herself.
Okay. Did the police come?
Yes.
And did you talk to them?
Yeah, I told them exactly what had happened. I said I feel she's not safe to herself, that she's panicking. I just broke up with her, and I just don't want anything to happen to her.
Okay. At that time, Miss Amosquita had already given birth to Bubba, correct?
Yes,
So after you broke up with her, did you co-parent with Miss Amosquita?
I did.
Okay. And how did that co-parenting go?
It was about a 50-50. I took him any of my days off that I could because I wanted to see him. I had, like I said, is at the time I was having a Friday through Sunday off, so I'd pick him up on Friday, and I would take him and drop him off at school on Monday.
So is it safe to say that after the original bumps you encountered in the initial breakup, that you got along pretty well co-parenting with her?
Yeah, because she, I don't know, after the breakup, she didn't hate me. She didn't act like she hated me. She just acted like she hated Nicole.
So how long did you go without having a parenting plan in place?
Up until I filed it in December.
At this time, I would like to draw your attention to what's been previously marked as exhibit number 7, which is the parenting plan in this case. You filed a parenting plan, correct?
Yeah.
And why did you file it?
Because I felt there was a need for one at the time due to the domestic violence that had been brought to my attention.
And in filing for this petition, I'll bring to your attention what's marked as number 12 or page 8 of the exhibit, where you marked that there was no need for child support at the time.
Not at the time.
Why didn't you want child support at the time?
I had figured she would have kind of figured out the situation and kind of chosen her kid, over what's going on in her household. And I figured maybe there was a chance, but now it's having to pay for everything for him it's a lot.
And whenever you filed the petition for the parenting plan, you also asked for a restraining order, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And why did you want a restraining order?
What's your restraining order?
For your attention, sorry. The restraining order that's labeled in the petition, you asked for one specifically for.
Right. Yeah, no, that was a restraining order on Mike Chaddick because he is the one that has domestically abused my son.
I would move to evidence of exhibit number 7, the parenting plan. Now, you mentioned that you wanted a restraining order because of Mike Chaddick specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. I would draw your attention to what's previously been marked as proposed exhibit number 6. This is a petition for a protective order. And you filed this October 17th of 2022.
Yes.
And again, why did you file a restraining order or a domestic violence protective order or a DVPO?
Because of everything my son said, because he said that he was scared of Mike, that he didn't want to go back. And I believe my son, and I wanted to make sure that he was safe.
Okay. And when you filed this petition, did you ask family members to fill out a declaration for you?
Yes, I did. I went to everybody that he had talked to and asked them if they could write statements on what he had told them.
And to your knowledge, they did, and that's what's in the parenting plan.
Yes.
Or sorry, that's what's in the domestic violence protective order against Mike Chaddock.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to also draw your attention to your handwriting. At the caption, is that your handwriting?
No.
Is that, you know, if that's the clerk's handwriting?
No, it's my handwriting's sloppy.
Okay, so this page 3, that's your handwriting?
No.
Is your handwriting in this petition at all, Ms. Miller?
No.
Okay. So whose handwriting is it?
That would be Nicole Miller.
Okay. So Nicole Miller, she wrote what was in this petition,
Yes.
but are these your words?
They are my words.
Okay, so why did Ms. Miller write the words in the petition?
Because my handwriting doesn't look that good.
So is it fair to say that Ms. Miller was, she helped you fill out a DVPO against Mike Chaddock?
Yes, she had came over because I asked her, I said, hey, will you help me fill this out? And she came over and she filled out all the paperwork.
I would like to admit into evidence what's been previously marked as Exhibit 6, which is the petition for protective order against Mike Chaddock. And Mr. Miller, Ms. Amosquita did raise something, which was there was a denial order. Why was the petition for a DVPO against Michael Chaddock originally denied?
I had technical difficulties getting on Zoom.
And did you fill out a declaration stating that you had technical difficulties?
I had called them and asked, and I think I just filled out a new one. I didn't.
Where you're cutting out again, Ms. Holder.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I would direct the court's attention and Mr. Miller's attention to Exhibit 6, page 40. There was a declaration. Mr. Miller, did you write due to technical difficulties and no service on my cell phone? I was late in appearing. Okay.
My memories.
That's okay. There's one paperwork. Okay. What was the outcome of the DVPO petition against Mike Chaddock?
It was signed by a judge that he had a restraining order on again. Stand for both me and my son that he was not allowed within 1,000 feet of him. Oh, me and my son.
And what date was that?
I believe it was December 19th, 2022.
After that was denied, did you ever file a petition for a protective order against Ms. Amosquita?
Yes.
When did you do that?
I think it was shortly after that because she had told me she was going to take my son back over to the house, or she put him back over there around Chaddock.
Did you ever have any reason to believe that she was going to do that?
She took him out of school. There's days she came and picked him up out of school and took him back to the house over there.
Do you remember what day that was?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Go back to what's been marked, what's been admitted as Exhibit number 2 on February 6th of 2023 of this year.
Yes.
There's a comment, 10:20 mom.
Yeah.
Do you believe that's when Miss Amosquita took your son out of school?
Yes, because she waited until I dropped him off at school so she could run over there and take him out of school, take him back to the house where Chaddock resides.
So just so I understand, you dropped your son off at school that morning,
Yes.
and then Miss Amosquita waited for you to drop him off,
Yes.
and then she took him out of school at 10:20 in the morning, and she took him back home to her house.
To her house, yes.
On exhibit number 9, what's been proposed as exhibit number 9, what was the outcome of that protection order?
It was filed against her, and it was signed off by a judge.
You know why the judge signed off on it?
I believe mostly because Chaddock still resides in the home.
So, Mr. Miller, just so I understand, there's a DVPO in place currently against Ms. Amosquita.
Yes.
And there is currently a DVPO in place against Mr. Chaddock.
Yes.
Okay. Now, shortly before you filed for a protective order against Miss Amosquita, your wife filed divorce paperwork. Is that correct?
Yes, she did.
Do you remember about the date that she did that?
I believe it was January 8th.
Oh, yep. And so in her I'm going to draw the court's attention now to exhibit number 10, or what's been proposed as exhibit number 10. Is this the petition that your estranged wife, Nicole Miller, filed with Cowlitz County for the petition for divorce?
Yes.
Okay. What led to your divorce?
I had found out around June 9th that she was having an affair.
And is June 9th what has you both mutually decided is the date of separation?
Yes.
So you found out Nicole was having an affair.
Yes.
Did you ask her to leave the home?
I told her that I didn't agree with the affair and I did not want her to continue. She did not want to discontinue her affair, so she moved out in with her mom so that she could continue having an affair with the person she was seeing.
And is that what you wrote in your petition? Your response to her petition? Is this the response that you wrote to her marriage dissolution petition?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when Nicole Miller filed her petition for divorce, what was your relationship with her like at that time?
We didn't really talk. Kind of stopped talking around that time.
And did she ever make any allegations of domestic abuse?
No.
Did she put it anywhere in her petition? Did she file for a protective order against you or a restraining order?
No, she didn't.
Okay. She filed a petition for a plan?
We couldn't catch that, Miss.
Sorry. When Nicole Miller filed her divorce petition, did she also file a parenting plan at that time?
Yes.
So page 13 of exhibit 10, number 3 specifically, she didn't allege any abandonment, neglect, child abuse, or domestic violence against you. She also didn't allege any substance abuse, abusive conflict, withholding of the child. She didn't really allege anything negative in 3A or 3B.
No.
What's your relationship with Miss Miller like now?
Disagreements.
What kind of disagreements do you have?
Mainly over custody and just property possessions.
Okay.
We're not on really talking terms.
And how long were you together before you had your daughter, Olivia?
Oh, a year or two, somewhere in there.
You might need to speak up a little bit. It's okay. What was your marriage to Nicole like?
It was everything I ever wanted. I loved her, I had feelings towards her. She was my best friend. Everything we did, we were in it together. And we would do anything for each other at the time.
So what led to your breakup? I know that you mentioned there was some infidelity on her part. Was there anything else?
We had an incident where her brother died. I didn't really know how to help her. She blamed me a lot for not being there for her when her brother died. So she had a lot of mental breakdowns, a lot of mental issues she was going through. And somewhere along the line, she blamed me for not being there enough for her.
And I know this is a very sensitive topic. What was your sex life like when you were with your wife?
Around sex life, it was intimate, but she liked certain things.
What kind of things did she like?
As far as I can put in terms of how she's described it to me, is she likes to be manhandled in the bedroom, as in rough sex.
And have you been intimate with her since you have separated? And how many times would you estimate that to be? All right. Have there ever been any incidents where the police were called due to interactions you had with Nicole?
There was one time her sister had called out of the blue when I was helping her take apart bunk beds.
Will you explain what happened there?
She was on the phone with her sister. I had just gotten off work.
Nicole was.
Yeah, she was at my residence now, but she was taking apart the bunk beds, and I had gotten off work, so I stopped by and seen that she was there. And I went in there to help her take apart the bunk beds. I told her, I'll just help you take it apart real quick. We can load it up. And her sister was on the phone with her at the time, and her sister does not like me. So her sister was mad, calling me a bunch of names, and I was just minding my business, helping her with the bed, get it in her car. And so her sister took it upon herself to call the police on me, making allegations that were not true.
Were you ever charged in that?
No.
Ever arrested?
No.
Did you know if there was ever a police report on that?
As far as I know, yeah, that was just her sister had called alleging this went on, and that was it. They went and checked it out. They didn't find anything. There was nothing. Nicole didn't say anything.
All right. I want to bring your attention to, I'm going to divert and bring your attention back to another incident where the police were called. October 8th of 2022. What happened there?
Well, I had let my son spend one day over there,
Over where?
over at his mother's house, because she had just had her baby. I wanted him to meet his new brother. I dropped him off, and upon having him come back and pick him up, because she said she wanted to spend time with her new baby, I had brought him back to the house, and one of the first things he had told me was that Mike smacked him again and hit him. And then he described the fight they had had between them, where that is where I first heard
Who
the
is them?
Angel and Mike Chaddick.
Your son was describing a fight he witnessed between Angel and Mike.
Yes. And the way he describes it, it was because Mike had slapped him in the back of the head. So his mom had gotten mad at Mike and slapped Mike in the face. And Mike's response was to spit on her,
Spit on who?
on Angel.
And your son told you this.
Yes.
And what was your reaction when your son told you this?
You wanted to find out what's going on. What is her plan? What is she wanting to do about this? So, you know, I was heading to town anyway. I stopped by to talk to her because I talked to
Stop
her
by where?
by her house to talk to her. And I had talked to her like 2 days prior about like, hey, he's saying some weird stuff
What kind of weird stuff was your son saying?
about the smacking on the head and stuff. And she had told me that he was learning it from YouTube and shows he was watching it. But it didn't make sense. So I stopped by her house.
Now, have you stopped by Miss Amosquita's house before in the past? How many times?
Signed up for there and dropped them off.
So a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
And did you just wait in the driveway when you would go to her house?
No.
When you went to Miss Amosquita's house, what would you do?
I'd walk up the steps, go to the front door and knock on it.
And you've done that a lot.
Yeah.
And is that what you did on October 8th?
Yes.
When you went up to the door and you knocked on the door to talk to Angel, what happened?
Mike Chaddick had answered the door. And I had asked to speak with Angel because it's concerning our son. And he had told me, well, what's it about? That was his question to me. And I said, well, I don't really want to discuss it with you. I want to talk to Angel.
Why didn't you want to discuss it with Mike Chaddick?
Because he's a person of interest. I don't want to start a conflict with him. I want to just talk to my son's mom and find out what's going on with it.
And did you get to talk to Angel? Okay, so explain to me why you didn't get to talk to Angel. When you say he refused, what did he do to refuse you access to Angel?
Once I had told him, like after I told him, all I had said to him was, I'm pretty sure you know what's about it. Angel's already told you. And his response to that was, I'm not sure if I can cuss on.
You can say it.
Okay, so his response to that was, well, I think you're a little bitch.
Was anybody with you when you went to Angel's house?
My dad was.
Okay, and where was he when this was going on?
At the time, he was sitting in the truck watching. So,
Did he ever get out of the truck?
at some point, yes, he did, because he had heard Mike starting to flip out and saying that I was a little bitch and telling me my son's a liar and my son is just making things up.
What was Mike Chaddick's demeanor when he was talking to you? So was he calm? Was he yelling? What was he doing?
He was being accused of something. He was panicking
Okay. And how do you know he was mad?
because he was yelling, calling me names, vulgar names.
Did you ever see Miss Amosquita during that altercation or during that incident?
At the end, yes.
Okay. And when did you see her?
When she came to the door and asked me to leave.
She came to the door and asked you to leave. Did you leave?
Yes.
What happened when you left?
Mike Chaddick had, well, first they had shut him off the door. And then as I got into my truck and my dad was getting into my truck to leave, Mike Chaddick ran after us with his phone, trying to film us and trying to get us to get out of the vehicle. And he had blocked my tire. I did not want to leave because I did not want to accidentally run over us, but he had blocked and prevented me from leaving on a public sidewalk, refusing to let me leave, calling us stupid motherfuckers, saying we're just nothing but little bitches, and to do something.
And when you were at Miss Amosquita's house, did you notice if the door was broken?
When I left.
Did you ever get to leave from Ms. Amaskitas?
At some point, he backed away from the truck enough for me to be able to have enough room to leave to where I didn't feel I was going to accidentally run over his foot.
Could I object?
You can.
Because when I asked him to leave, they wouldn't let us shut the door. So I told them I'm calling the cops because they wouldn't leave, and then they broke in my door. So I have my police.
Your Honor, may I ask what the basis of the objection is?
What, so you're going to be able to provide testimony to your version of
Okay.
events. So,
Okay.
an objection has to be for a foundational or a legal reason, but if you have
Oh.
something that is, contrary, like in your opinion to what he's saying, then that'll be part of your testimony.
Okay. I
And then,
just.
and you can ask him questions, about that as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Miss. So I'll deny.
Okay.
Or overrule that objection, and then go ahead, Miss Fuller.
No, it's okay. I did too. So you managed to leave Ms. Amaskita's house.
Yes.
Do you know if the police were ever called?
After I left?
Did the police come and talk to you?
No.
Were you charged in this incident?
No, they ended up calling me on the phone and just asking what happened.
Okay. Are you involved in any legal action because of this? Like, do you have a criminal charge because of this?
Yes.
Okay. Explain the criminal charge.
He's saying
Who
that
is he?
Mike Chaddick is saying that I had assaulted him in the 4th degree and that I had entered his home.
So trespass.
Yes.
Was your dad next to you while this was happening?
Yes, it was.
Was your dad ever charged?
No.
And you said you have a criminal matter in this case. In that.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have an attorney? Okay. Have you spoken to your attorney about this criminal matter?
Yes.
Okay. And your understanding in talking with your attorney is what is going to be the disposition of this case? How is this going to end up? Do you think you are actually going to be convicted?
No.
And what makes you think that?
Because as far as I know, she's hired a private investigator.
Who hired one?
Savannah, my attorney.
Okay.
For this case. Hired a private investigator and says that they're running into conflicts with their stories.
Whose story?
changing, Angel and Mike's stories changing.
And so based on your conversations with your attorney,
Yeah.
It's your understanding that you are not going to be convicted due to insufficient evidence. Okay. Now, how is your relationship with, switching gears again, how is your relationship with Ms. Amaskita since you got a domestic violence protective order against her?
We make things very difficult. I know we have to talk through a parenting app because she's refused to have any sort of supervised visitation through anybody I've recommended or suggested. She's talked to my son, maybe like that's all we like our personal relationship. That's about all we talk about.
Okay. I'm going to draw the court's attention and your attention, Mr. Miller, to what's been previously marked as proposed exhibit number 11. Do you recognize what this is?
Yes.
And what are these?
They're the parenting app that we use for our text to talk about my son.
And so these are text conversations in a parenting app between you and Ms. Amaskita.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Ms. Amaskita was ordered by the court that she could have court appointed supervision.
Yes.
To this day, has she had any supervised visitations with your son?
No, she's not.
Has she told you that she's setting up the visitations?
That's as far as we go.
And how many times has she told you that she's working on getting it set up?
Roughly about 3, including yesterday.
And that would be on exhibit 11. I don't believe these ones are marked with page numbers. I apologize. About page 5, I believe, 4. Page 4, you'll see that Ms. Amaskita, is this her calling to set up? And there's a place in Longview. Okay. And I also see in these messages that she asked to talk to your son a lot.
Yeah.
Does she?
Not as much as, I mean, every once in a while. I've told her my work schedule, and it seems that she has messaged me a few times while I'm at work. But no, she's talked to me maybe 7-8 times.
Based on your understanding, why does she not talk to your son that often?
She says there are days that she oversleeps when she tells me a time and doesn't follow through with it. There are days where she's saying she goes to work or something. As far as I know, it's mostly oversleeping.
Okay. And does your son know that she's planning to call?
Yes, it is.
And tell me about how he feels about his mom calling.
He gets excited because he does miss his mom. He loves his mom. That's his mom. But he gets let down when she doesn't call. And he feels upset.
Now, when you and Ms. Amiskita went to court over the domestic violence protective order against Ms. Amiskita,
Yes.
did you, was supervised visitation the only option for Ms. Amiskita?
No.
What other option did you ask for?
I told her that she could talk to my son and see my son through my mother was one option. So I guess that would still be supervised.
Okay. It was supervised, but who would the supervisors be?
My mother, or by a point, is basically a safe environment for him.
And just so I understand, just Ms. Amiskita knows your mother.
Yes, very well.
And because why does she know your mom very well?
My mom raised her in high school whenever she moved in. My mom has been there for her. Even when we broke up, my mom, she still went over to my mom's house when she was upset.
And Ms. Amiskita chose not to have supervised visitations with Bubba, with your mother as a supervisor. What is your understanding of why she chose not to?
Because my mother wrote a statement against her boyfriend.
What are your plans? Do you have any plans for yourself for the fall?
I do. I plan to attend college. Go back to
Do you
school.
recognize what these documents are?
Yeah, that would be my layout of my schedule for going back to college.
Okay.
At LCC.
Now, you say going back. I want to draw your attention up here where it says SP 2015. What's this?
That'd be spring quarter of 2015. When I was 19, I took classes for engineering, and I had math and English credits up to the level that I need in going back to school. So I already had those credits accounted for.
Okay. And why have you decided to go back to school?
Because I want a better career. I want to better set myself for both me and my kids to where they have a better life.
So what has your relationship been like? We have a few questions about Ms. Miller.
Okay.
What's your relationship with Ms. Miller been like recently?
Recently, as in like the last day or two, or
Recently in the last couple months. So if you go to page 43 of exhibit 10, page 43, you will see that there are some text messages between you and Ms. Miller. All right, so what's going on in these text messages?
So yeah, we've had a lot of conflict with my daughter. When it comes to custody, she has had instances where she's withheld my daughter from me due to the fact of
I don't have that.
I don't do something she wants me to do. Or
Okay,
the way she wants it.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
I don't think I have that.
You have exhibit number 10?
Yeah, it only goes to page 26 and then I have nothing else.
So you can see it through your email.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't print out. That was weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it in my email.
Okay. As long as you have it and can look at it. Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Holder. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Ms. Amiskita. So these text messages that start on page 43 in front of you. So you said that Ms. Miller's been withholding your daughter.
Yes. Every once in a while.
Okay. Do you know why she does that?
Which situation?
So she's done it a few times.
Yes.
Okay. Now, has there ever, page 47, this is you on the right-hand side that says, I will pick her up in front of the police station. Will you agree to those terms?
Yes.
And then what was her response?
I think we should talk about what's going on with the house. That's right. So basically, it was something she wanted, and she was willing to withhold my daughter in order to get it.
Okay. So she would not let you exchange your daughter on the weekend and get your daughter until you talked about what was going on.
Yes, because she's talked to me, telling me she wants me to just settle and sell the house so she can have her money.
Okay. Now you also mentioned you asked when I asked you about what's going on with your relationship with Ms. Miller, and you said over the last couple of days. What's happened in the last couple of days?
Yesterday, or was it the day? In the last day or two, she called me.
All right. Is it normal for her to call you?
That is absolutely.
How does she normally communicate with you? Okay, so she called you.
Yes.
How long was your phone call with her?
2 hours.
And what did you guys talk about?
She called me in a panic, saying that after reading the reports and everything that has happened over in the household, especially with the CPS reports
In what household?
and Angel's.
So you
household.
believe that Ms. Miller saw all of the evidence that Ms. Anaskita has?
Yes, against her, yeah.
Okay. And then Ms. Miller called you in a panic. And what did you guys talk about?
That after reading the reports, there was one instance that stood out with Angel's sister that really bothered her, and she feels that she had made a mistake in taking the side of Angel and Mike Chaddick, and that she said that she had more of a change of heart and decided that she wanted to be on my side with it, and asked if there was anything she could say or do to help me obtain custody of Buddy because she doesn't believe he should go back over there.
And what did you say to that?
I told her that what she's doing was wrong. I didn't feel like with the type of things she was doing and turning in and stuff, they weren't true. So I told her, I said, just go out there and tell the truth. It's up to you.
So when Ms. Miller said that she was hesitant to appear as a witness for Ms. Anaskita,
yeah.
You said, just tell the truth. Okay. Now you mentioned that there were some statements or she made some statements and she sided with Ms. Anaskita. What are you talking about there?
She wrote quite a few statements and twisted stories.
So I want to draw your attention and the court's attention and Ms.
Yes.
Anaskita's to exhibit number 6, page 16. There is a declaration signed. Who is this?
Nicole Miller.
Okay. And what's the gist of this declaration?
That would be the statement that she had wrote for me to help me with my restraining order against Mike Chaddick.
Okay, so she wrote a declaration in support of you
Yes.
when you saw a DDPO against Mike Chaddick.
Yes.
Okay. Did she write any more declarations?
I think she's written 2 after that.
Okay. I'm going to draw your attention to exhibit number 7, page 62. And do you know what this Nicole wrote in this declaration, specifically what she was asking for or what she was telling the court?
She was trying to persuade the courts to tell them that, oh, we need to do 50-50 on custody at the time.
We need to do 50-50. Who needs to do 50-50?
Well,
You and
Nicole was stating that me and Angel should do 50-50 on custody.
didn't make any domestic violence allegations against you in this declaration.
No.
Okay. Did she write another declaration? So draw the court's attention to exhibit number 9 in Ms. Anaskita, to exhibit number 9, page 37, from dated February 17th, 2023, and this was filed in the petition for the protective order that you filed against Ms. Anaskita.
Yeah.
Okay. And the gist of this declaration is that you forcefully removed Buddy from Angel's care on October 8th. Following the incident, was Buddy at the incident when you went to Miss Anaskita's home?
No, he was not.
So where was he?
He was at my dad's house.
There's also mentioned in here for the that she filed for divorce due to you being physically and mentally abusive.
50 states.
And since then, she's also written, I believe, another declaration that Ms. Anaskita is putting forward as evidence in her proposed exhibit number 5.
Yes.
Again, I would ask you, while you were married to Nicole, was there any domestic violence?
No.
Has she ever accused you of domestic violence before?
No.
So she never accused you of any domestic violence before these declarations she filed?
No.
Okay. Last little bit. How is Buddy doing now?
He's a completely different kid from what he was a year ago. You know, he's fine. He's definitely, especially with the schooling, was one of my biggest focuses on him, was to try to get him to do really good in school to be successful. Pertaining to that, his behavior has changed a lot. He's opened up a lot more. He used to be kind of in a shell, kind of just didn't want to play with other kids, just wanted to be by himself. Now he's kind of opening up and having his own personality, and you can definitely see a change. He does have minor little issues like every other kid does, you know.
Okay. And what happens when he displays those issues?
Usually I try to figure out, depending on the issue. I mean, it could be he's having a bad day, or it could be something serious like the day he flipped out and, you know, went to running around the school, then I mean, those issues usually he gets, he gets talked to find out what do I believe the main reason that he's doing that is,
Ms. Miller, I'm going to stop you for a second. Ms. Anaskita, I'm going to ask, is there someone in the room with you?
My sister's getting a drink of water.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Miller.
So,
How's Buddy doing?
okay, like I said, he's doing amazing in school. His teachers notice a difference. My family has noticed a difference in him. He's real playful. He's honestly the best I've ever seen him. But like I said, he does have his moments, but those are usually taken care of. I mean, he has bad days and stuff. It's something that, he's done that's wrong, and he gets a timeout or he gets, his games taken away.
But overall, how would you say he's doing that?
Okay.
Okay, and do you see a difference in his behavior and his demeanor when he lived with Ms. Anaskita and when he lives with you?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, I have no further questions for my witness. In your honor, and Ms. Anaskita, I'd like to take a second to apologize. I didn't mean to snap at you to ask if there was somebody in the room. I forgot. Normally, I would ask, if there's going to be somebody in the room with you, just let us know ahead of time. Just due to making sure witnesses are sequestered, but it's completely fine that your sister was in there getting a drink of water. So I do want to apologize if it seemed like I was snapping at you.
Oh, okay. When looking at Exhibit 6, page 80, did you know that at 5 the commissioner wrote that we were waiting for CPS reports to reissuance for the protection order when it was placed?
Which restraining order is that?
This was Exhibit 6. This would be you versus Mike Check.
Oh, yes.
So you did know.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when you mentioned earlier on Exhibit 13, page 1, about the alleged stuff with Jordan, did you know that was over 2 years ago when that case was closed? The intake with CPS.
I think what she's asking is, did you know that case was unfounded? Is that correct, Ms. Anaskita? That's what you're asking?
Yeah, unfounded.
Yes.
Okay. And then at the very end of page 17 and page 71, it shows unfounded and the case is closing.
What page was that, Ms. Anaskita?
Page 17 of
Page
Exhibit 13.
Okay.
It says at the additional risk factors in history, that section at the bottom.
What is the question?
Can you repeat your question?
Oh, did you know that it showed the unfounded, all the unfounded stuff from CPS on those pages?
Yes.
Okay. And did you know what the most recent events on page 70 and 71, it showed the case was closing?
Can you point us to where it says that it's closing?
Page 71 at the very bottom, where it says completed, moving forward with case closure. And then I don't think I have any more questions for him.
Any redirect, Ms. Holder?
Yes, Your Honor. On page 71, what Ms. Anaskita pointed out, will you read, Mr. Miller, where it says risk factors identified?
Yes. It says a pattern of physical abuse allegations naming Mr. Chaddock as alleged risk factors or perpetrator.
And so you're aware that there have been multiple unfounded CPS allegations against Ms. Anaskita and Mike Chaddock, right?
Yes, I am.
All right. Does that change your opinion as to where your son should reside and who she should live with?
No, it does not.
And why doesn't it?
Because it's still a risk factor, and my son is still scared to go back over there. And the things he's told me, I believe everything he's told me.
No further questions.
All right. Any other questions, Ms. Anaskita, for Mr.
No.
Okay. All right. And then Ms. Holder, next witness.
I would call Michael Miller's mother. Is it Janine?
Yeah.
Ms.
Sager.
Janine, so you currently have a job?
Yeah.
Are you retired?
I'm disabled
Okay. So you are at home.
all the time.
Okay. So what is your daily schedule like at home?
Oh gosh. I get up at 6 a.m. so I can wake up a little bit before I get the kids up and ready, because I have a 7-year-old daughter also. So then I wake the kids up, I get Buddy and Eva ready, and Eva's school starts 15 minutes before his, so we drop her off, and then we go back and drop him off at his school, and then I usually have Olivia. So then we do just daily errands, and then when it's time, then we go back and we pick Eva up, and then we go pick Buddy up, and then we either go to the park or we go swimming, or we just got a new swimming thing. And then I feed the kids dinner, and then the kids have baths. About 7, I start giving baths because there's 3 of them. And then we lay down and they watch a movie from like 8 to 9, and then at 9 o'clock is their bedtime on school nights. So then the TV will be shut off and they'll go to sleep.
So is it fair to say that your schedule kind of evolves around the kids? Are doing?
Yes.
Okay. And how often do you see your son, Michael Miller?
Every day.
Every day. How would you describe his temperament, his demeanor, his attitude?
Oh, he's good. He's strict, like with all the kids, and not strict, but like he has, I don't know how to say it. It's like when the school stuff, like he's gotten him into counseling. At first, we weren't sure exactly what, besides the ADHD, we weren't sure, but he's into counseling now.
And this is Buddy.
Yeah,
Or Buddy.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's like so many Michaels. But yes, he's in counseling. He goes to counseling. He takes ADHD medication in the morning. He's having amazing days. I have had to talk to the principal twice.
When did you talk to the principal about with Buddy?
Well, he called me in.
The principal called you in?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Buddy had drawn a picture of a gun on the whiteboard. And then
How long ago was this?
maybe a month, if that.
About a month ago. Okay.
And then he also had characters that he was playing with, and one was him and one was the bad Mike, he said, and he kept knocking him off the horse, the principal said, and saying that he had to protect his brother and the other kids from the bad Mike. And then a couple days later, the principal called me in again to tell me that he had drawn more pictures of, like, he couldn't exactly explain what everything was, but he said it was basically people dead laying around, like.
So my understanding is violent pictures.
Yes.
That Buddy had
Yeah,
drawn.
and they were concerned, and I even got copies of them from them to give to his counselor, to his therapist, so they had a better idea of maybe how to talk to him. Or
Now, you said that was a month ago.
Yeah.
And during that time, he's living with your son, Michael Miller Jr.
right with me, and yes,
Okay, with you guys in your
yes,
home.
yeah.
Okay. What was Buddy like before he started living with you and your son?
He was ornery. He wasn't very nice. He would talk back. He would be mean to the girls. He was acting out in school. He would hit the teachers, kick the teachers, run away from the teachers. He was only going half days because the teachers couldn't deal with him. They could not deal with him.
Do you know if he was on medication at that time?
He was not.
Okay. And do you know if he's on medication now?
Yes, I give it to him every morning.
And how's he doing on medication?
Great. He's actually had way more good days. I mean, he's had 1 or 2 little incidents, but nothing like running away or nothing bad with the teachers or other kids.
Okay. Now I want to talk specifically about Bubba's or Buddy's allegations of abuse. Okay. Has Buddy ever talked to you about any kind of abuse that he has experienced or he has witnessed?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that.
He said that Mike hit him in the face and in the head when he got mad. And
Mike who? Mike
Mike Chaddick.
Okay.
And that Mike Chaddick also hit William in the face and the head,
And who is William?
his little brother. He said his mom got mad and smacked Mike in the face, and Mike spit on her. He said Mike got mad and broke his TV. And when he was younger, Angel actually told me about the incident that Michael was 3 and Mike was outside doing whatever, and he came back in and Michael was in the litter box, which he's 3, he shouldn't be left alone anyway. And so Mike got mad and threw his blanket that I had bought him that he always slept with in the garbage, and that him and Angel had gotten into an argument when she got home from work because of it. And then Michael had to go around and try to find the same exact blanket because he wasn't sleeping without it, because he always had to have that blanket. We ended up having to go to Woodland to get it.
Okay. Has Bubba told you about any other incidents?
He was scared. He didn't want to go back.
Does how many times has he said that he doesn't want to go back to Miss Amosquita in Mr. Chaddock's house?
Not a lot. Matter of fact, when I first moved in, I have a cross and a rosary that my mom gave me on the wall. And he said that he wanted to use that crucifix on Mike, on the bad Mike, but not on his mom. Because he asked me if it would hurt him if he touched it. And I said, no, you're good. It's not going to hurt you. And then he said, oh, only bad people. And I said, yeah. I said, it doesn't hurt good people. And then he said, well, I want to use that on the bad Mike, but not my mom.
Does your son ever make comments that he's bad? Do you know if Mike Chaddock has ever told him he's bad? Okay.
He just keeps saying that he's mean to him. He doesn't like it because he's mean to him and William.
Now there was a domestic violence protective order filed against Mike Chaddock. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you write a declaration for that?
I did.
And is everything that you said in that declaration true?
Yes, it is.
And why did you write that declaration?
Because Buddy came to me scared and upset and was nervous he was going to have to go back. And he kept telling us he didn't want to go back. He was scared that the bad Mike was mean and he didn't want to go back.
Did you ever see any physical indications of abuse on Buddy?
Yeah, actually, when he was, I can't remember how old he was, like 3, maybe 2, 3, 4. There's fingerprints on his arm. And when Mike was confronted with that, he apologized for it.
Did you hear Mike Chaddock apologize?
I didn't, but Nikki and Michael told me about the phone call because Michael had called me and said, Mom, I found this. And I said, well, you need to call Angel and find out what's going on.
And just so I know, who is Nikki? Is that Nicole Miller?
Yes, yes.
So Nicole Miller told you.
Yes.
Okay.
Michael and Nicole, yes.
And in this exhibit, what's been marked as F1, is that what you saw?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you've seen this picture. Did you actually see this on his arm
Yes,
yourself?
I did. Yes, I did. Because they came over to my house to play the next day and I did see it.
And did Buddy tell you where those marks came from? Did you ask him?
Well, he said my grandpa, but Michael grabbed him.
So,
Because he was hitting William or something and he said Mike grabbed him. He's like, I got him, ripped him off.
okay. So how, you know Miss Amosquita?
Mhm.
How do you know her?
Well, she moved into our home when she was 14. Didn't have the best upbringing. And then when her grandma passed, we took her in. Made sure she had everything she needed for school. Bought her school clothes, school supplies, fed her. I even made my daughter, I got a set of bunk beds and made my daughter share her room with her.
How long did she live with you in your home?
Until she graduated and even after, for a couple of years after, until her and Michael broke up.
So how many years would you approximate that is?
Maybe 5, 6.
And what's your like?
Miss Holder, we couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, Miss Sayer, what has your relationship been like with Miss Amosquita?
I thought it was good until all of this started. And then she asked if she could talk to me and I told her yes. And she called me and she asked why we were doing this. And I told her, I said, we're not doing this because you're a bad mom. We're doing this to keep him safe. He's not safe with Mike, obviously. He's scared of Mike. And I said, none of the statements that anybody wrote were about you. I said, we love you. And this is just not okay that, he's doing this, that Buddy's scared to go back to your house. And I've even volunteered to be the mediator, like in between for the visits and stuff, to be the neutral person.
And who did you volunteer with?
Both. I've told Angel and I told Michael. And Angel's exact words were, no, I'm not going to have anybody on his family do it. And she was at my house a lot. Like when they broke up, she was at my house every single day. I'm the one that helped her through that. I'm the one that helped her take care of Buddy and watch Buddy while she worked. And we had a good relationship until all of this started.
And what's your relationship been like with Nikki?
Daughter-in-law, mother-in-law. We got along fine. We visited and whenever we would go over and I helped watch the kids sometimes when they worked. And
what's your relationship with Nicole Miller like now? Final for divorce.
I help with the drop off and pick up of my granddaughter and it's civil. We're not mean to each other. We get along, but we don't go out of our way to talk to each other.
Have there ever been any instances where she was uncooperative?
Yes.
With Olivia?
Yes.
All right, will you explain what those interactions were like when she was uncooperative?
Well, before the parenting plan, it was that she would drop Olivia off at Michael's house and then I would drop Olivia off at her mom's house. Always on Monday, always at noon. Monday at noon came and I was there because Michael was sleeping. He had just got home from work. So he wanted to sleep a few hours. And so I was going to get her, I was going to wait for her and then wake him up when she got there. And then 12 came and went, and I messaged Nikki and said, hey, what's your ETA? You know, I got stuff to do. I'm waiting for Olivia. It's supposed to be at noon. And then she started in with how Michael needs to do it, how I shouldn't be doing it. And I told her, I said, well, he's sleeping for a couple hours before she gets here. You know, the drop-off time's always at noon. I always have her at your mom's at noon like you want. You know, I would appreciate it if you would have her here at noon. And then she ended up saying, well, then I guess he's just going to have to wait. And he didn't see her that week. She kept him the week.
All right, I'm going to draw the court's attention and your attention, Ms. Sager, to what is marked as Exhibit 10, and this is page 48. Do these text messages look familiar to you?
Yes.
Okay, what are these text messages?
This is the conversation that we had whenever I was telling her drop-off times at noon. You're supposed to be here at noon. I have stuff to do. You need to be here. I can't be here all day. And I always have her at your mom's at noon. You need to have her here at noon. That was the agreement. That's always been the agreement.
Okay, and from what you just said a few minutes ago, after that conversation, she kept Olivia for the whole week.
Yes, she messaged Michael. She blocked me and then messaged Michael and said, you're going to have to wait till next week then.
Now, you saw Angel when she was a teenager. Did you also know Nicole when she was a teenager?
Because my Angel were friends. And so like Angel and Nikki and Cassie, Cassie is Nikki's twin sister. They would always come to our house to get ready for dances and stuff. So I would do their hair. I would help them with their makeup. I would help them get ready for the dances, like the prom or the toe or whatever dance it was. Everybody would meet at our house. All the girls would get ready at our house. I would help them do their hair. And
so you would say that Angel and Nicole had a pretty good, friendly relationship.
yes.
Okay. Did that ever change?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
They were kind of off and on for a while throughout high school. And then they despised each other because Angel and Michael ended up breaking up, and then he ended up dating Nikki. So then they were just like total enemies. They didn't like each other. They didn't speak to each other, couldn't stand each other, didn't want any communication with each other.
Are you aware that they are on friendly terms now?
Yes, I heard that.
Okay. And what is your understanding of the friendly terms that they are on now?
My understanding is that Angel reached out to Nikki to ask if she could write statements, and Nikki agreed because she was upset and mad. And so she wrote statements. I haven't read the statements, but
okay. So switching gears, I just want to finish up your testimony and ask you specifically about how the interactions with your son and your grandson, with Buddy and with Mike Jr. Okay. How would you say their relationship is?
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. Buddy's with him, like when he's not working, Buddy's with him. They go fishing. He goes road hunting with his dad. I mean, he tries to include him.
Now, I know this is biased and this is your son, but in your opinion, is your son a good father?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think Ms. Amosquita is a good mother?
Yes.
Okay.
I do feel she needs to protect her son, but yes, I don't think she mistreats him. No.
Okay. And how do you feel what do you think is in Buddy's best interest? Where do you think he should live?
I believe he needs to be with his dad right now.
And why do you believe that?
Because Angel's not willing to do what's needed to protect him.
I have no further questions.
Right. Miss Amosquita, do you have any questions of Miss Sager?
No.
All right. And Miss Sager can be excused at this point, Miss Holder?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much for your time.
And now if we could bring Tara, if we could get Mike Miller Sr. in.
9632.
Okay. And do you have a job or do you work?
I'm disabled.
Okay. So what does your day-to-day look like?
I do a lot of work around the house, a little bit I can, and help take care of the kids.
Okay. What do you do to help and I'm assuming when you say him, to help him take care of the kids, you mean your son?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my daughter. I have several kids.
Okay. When you say you take care of the kids, what kind of things do you do?
Pick them up from school sometimes. Feed them, bathe them, play with them.
Okay. How often do you see your grandkids, specifically Buddy?
Up until I don't know the exact days, up until a little month or so ago, pretty much every day, like from school and stuff. But then His mom's helping with the kids now at his son's house.
I'm assuming that would be Miss Sager.
Yeah.
Is that your ex-wife?
Yes.
Okay, so because she's there now more, you're not there as much because she's kind of doing the majority. Okay. Okay. What's your relationship like with your son?
That's good.
Okay. Do you ever get to see your son interact with your grandson, Buddy?
Yeah.
And how would you say their interactions are?
Good.
Okay. Would you say he's a good dad?
Yeah.
All right. What makes you say he's a good dad?
He provides everything for him. He's nice to him. He teaches him things, takes him fishing, teaches him his letters, ABCs, and how to count.
Okay. Now you're aware that Buddy now lives with your son. Do you know why he lives with your son specifically now, as opposed to last fall he did not? Okay. And what's your understanding?
Bad environment with his mother, with Mike Chaddick, and the mother and their issues of abuse, abuse storage, abuse storage, Michael. Or,
Okay, so Buddy, Michael the
yeah.
third.
Buddy.
Okay. So you mentioned abuse. Did Buddy ever talk to you about abuse?
Yes.
Okay. What has Buddy told you specifically?
Oh, he's told me personally that Mike Chaddick has thrown him down on the ground, ripped his clothes off, and thrown gross food at him. I'm not sure what that means, but that he's told me that at least 3 times.
Do you know if there was any physical abuse?
He smacked him.
Okay. Have you ever seen any evidence of physical abuse on Buddy?
A while back, he had his arm. It lasted for quite a while. Like, I'm not sure how many days, but I know it was days.
Exhibit number 1. This the computer that you saw?
Yes.
Okay, now you've seen this picture, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever seen Buddy and seen him in person and seen this mark on him?
Yes.
Okay. And did he tell you what it was from?
Yeah. No, I don't remember if Michael told me or my son told me.
Okay.
I don't think Michael told me. I think my son told me because he told me in the garage we want to talk about it in front of Buddy, and he's just like, "Hey, look at this! Wow."
Okay. So, besides the smacking and throwing gross food on him and seeing this, are there any other stuff that you hear or see from Buddy where he talks about Mike Chaddick?
Yeah, he cries if he says if he thinks he has to go see him. He says he doesn't want to go down there anymore. That tells me that I believe he said Chaddick spit on him or his mother. I can't remember. And he says he's watched his mom and Jack like slap each other, or Jack slap his mom. Something like that.
And back when Buddy lived with his mother, do you know like what his behavior was like?
When he first came to his house, every time Michael was really flinchy, like hey buddy, he would like this, like he was gonna get hit.
So if you approached Buddy, he
Exactly.
would flinch away.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Do you know how long he was doing that? Do you know how long it took him to stop doing it?
At least 2-3 months. He just got better.
Now, is it just with you or was it with everybody?
Everyone. If you approached him, trying to give him a hug, hey bud, how's it going? Or he would flinch like he was gonna get hit.
And how was he? Did he have any discipline? Did Buddy have any discipline issues? Or does he have any discipline issues? Like he acts out.
Yeah, he does act out. He's getting a lot better now. I actually picked him up from school one day, and his teacher said she was at his old school and the new school, and she told me it was a 9-day difference, his attitude at school. And yeah, he's got a lot better. But actually now, yeah, when we first came there, a lot of times if he would do something, it just like freeze up. He wouldn't like acknowledge, hey, don't do that. He would just like freeze up. But now he listens to you now.
Do you know if he was on medication when he lived with his mom? Do you know if he takes medication now?
Yeah.
Okay, and how do you know this?
By giving it to him when I'm taking him, or when he's working, he takes it.
Okay. So from your understanding, different people give Buddy his medication?
Yeah, depending on who dad working, who's caring for him.
Okay, and do you know if he gets it every day?
Yeah, he gets working.
Okay. What's your relationship with Miss Amaskita? I know that she lived in your ex-wife's home. Did you ever live with her?
Yeah, I lived with her. When she was living when they were a lot younger, I worked all the time. I don't really have a relationship.
Now, do you have any kind of relationship with Mike Chaddick? Okay. What about Miss Nicole Miller? Do you have any kind of relationship with her?
Really? No, I don't.
Okay. I want to draw your attention to an incident that happened on October 8th of last year. Okay. Did you go with your son to Miss Amosquita's home? Okay. Can you tell me about why you went?
He was going to talk to Angel.
He being
My son, my cousin, talk to Angel. Thinks his son's saying what's going on in the home.
what Buddy was saying about.
His dad had alcohol abuse.
Okay.
Pulled out front so I could see the front of the house, but I didn't get out. I mean, I don't know, you know, two guys showing up. So my son went up and I could hear what was going on. I could see the front door. There's a dry, kind of a wet area. So there's one door you go through, like a screen door.
Okay.
And he was standing there hanging out on the door. And
So was it like a porch?
no, it's a wet, yeah, it's like a porch, but it's a covered.
Oh, like a portico.
Yeah, like
Okay.
a wet area. And he was standing there to knock on the front door and he was just standing there and Mike Chaddock came to the door and my son asked to speak to Angel.
Now, did you hear your son ask?
Yes, I
So
did.
you could hear
I'm
his son.
20 feet away with the window down. And he asked Michael, what's it about? Something along those lines. I think we're not being exact, but, and he asked him like 3 times. And then like,
He asked,
my son asked Chaddock like 3 times, I need to talk to Angel. Then, well, what's it about? He said, I just need to talk to Angel. And like the 3rd time, I think my son said, you know what it's about. I need to talk to Angel. And he called him a bitch.
he being Mike Chaddock called who?
Yeah, because I think you're a bitch. I was like, wow. And so it was a little heated, but my son never stepped in the house. There was, I mean, he kept his hands right to himself. And
Did you ever get out of the truck?
I started when it started escalating. I started because I wanted to hear more what was going on. I never actually was at the house. And then I heard Angel. I seen her one time pop her head out like this and say, "You guys leave, or I'm calling the police." Michael turned around, walked to his truck. I'd already got in the truck, and then Mike Chaddock followed behind, kind of blocking my son's truck. He was already in the truck, and Mike Chaddock walked to my side and was recording
What was he recording?
a phone.
Okay.
And so it's all on recording somewhere, and saying "bye, bitch." I think he said it 3 times, and he might have said some other stuff. It's been a while. I'm not sure. I think he was trying to provoke us to do something. And at first he like kind of blocked the truck from leaving. Then he came around my side and literally stuck the phone. I'm pretty sure it went through the window. I was filming us trying to like glare at us, and he was saying that. I mean, I know he said "bye, bitch" a few times, and then he might have said some other stuff to us.
Now, was Buddy anywhere near this when this was going on?
No,
Do you know where Buddy was?
yeah, he was at his house.
Okay. So Buddy's great grandparents'
Yeah.
house. That's where Buddy was. Okay. Do you know if the cops were ever called in that situation?
I think they were. I don't think they were called that day. I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did
called on
the
me.
police ever talk to you?
Mhm.
Okay. So did you ever get charged with anything?
No.
Okay. So switching gears, how would you describe Buddy is now that he lives with your son and his father?
Oh, 9-day difference. In school all day, he's not getting called every day, getting running around the school, getting the school locked down anymore. He pays attention, he's learning. I mean, a lot of times when he's at my parents' house and my house, he'll come to the driveway and me and my brother will talk to him about learning, and he's learned addresses, phone numbers, how to spell names. Yeah, he's doing really good. I mean, it's a 9-day difference.
All right. And in your opinion, where do you think that Buddy should live? And why do you think that?
He literally cries if you talk about going back to his mom's, because Chaddock's there and the stuff he says, he does not want to go back there.
Okay.
And
Okay. I have no further questions.
All right. Ms. Amosquita, do you have any questions of Mr. Miller?
No, I don't.
All right. And may Mr. Miller Senior be excused?
Free to go.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We'll recess now. Since I'm assuming you're going to testify. Is that correct? And then Mr. Chaddock. Okay.
Yes.
So if we are back at 1:35 p.m.